Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Inquisition with PaintpartyScot. If you haven't seen Penji's story, he's going to be late as per usual, and now he's using work as an excuse for him being late. We've heard it all now, folks. We've heard it all now. So I hope you're all good this Wednesday. This is the first of our April guests, with Ryan coming back for a cheeky wee chat up, just to see if he's still a fanboy of the Dark Angels, or as he's transgressed as his wee pal Sam Watergate Studios into the life of Swanesh. You know what I mean? Like, these people that wear specs, they're all into their old S&M and everything else that goes with that sort of stuff. So tell me, folks, how has your day been? How's your week been? Are you enjoying this glorious weather that we're having this now? It's been absolutely amazing here in Donegal. I even got the old IT guy, or former IT guy, to cut the grass today. He wasn't too happy, but he did it, which is always good to hear. As always, folks, we are sponsored by Orange Brushes. No, people, the brushes aren't bendy. It's an optical, it's magic. And Siege Scenic. So if you're looking for any basin materials, tufts or grass with mental names, give the boys at Siege Scenic a wee visit and buy their products. They're pretty good stuff. And also, Orange Brushes Inquisition, 10% off, free delivery in the UK for all the range of brushes. Can I beat that? It's such a great company, and we're so happy to be partnering with both of our sponsors for the Inquisition. So yeah, I'm away on holiday on Saturday. I can't wait. And I don't even know who Penge has on next week. He's keeping it a secret. It probably means he doesn't have it organised, and he'll probably be late for that as well. So we'll soon see. I will be tuning in on holiday just to see how late he is. And as always, you've got to just watch Penge, because who knows what Penge is going to be up to. So there he is there, the man of the hour, the man of the moment, old Ryan. Now we need to... But he's a good parent, and he's not going to do that. Not that I'm a bad parent, ethically. So how you doing, Ryan?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm not bad. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. I unfortunately can't see your beautiful face. I was seeing it just a wee second ago. I'm sure it was all up to date and everything, but you know, that's Instagram for you. Just screws me over.
Yeah, it's been a while since Instagram's run that. I can see you, but don't worry. Once it goes on YouTube, everybody will see everybody. So it's all good. So how's your week been, man? How's the weather in sunny Glasgow?
It's really sunny. It's been the last 2 days have been incredible. I mean, I've basically got my year's worth of vitamin D. It's been amazing.
Same as that, man.
You know, done
Absolutely glorious here in Donegal as well.
unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we're not the race that's built for that. Let's be honest. But it's nice to get vitamin D. It makes a nice change for a while.
Yeah, I'm finding all this extra energy, which I'm not used to having, so it's quite weird being wanting to cut the grass and wanting to do extra chores about the house. It's mental.
No, I didn't say I want to do anything extra. It just means I'm like, what is that burning ball in the sky? And you know, we must begin the sacrifices before it consumes us.
Sorry, man, 2 seconds. Isa, I've just bought the dog new toys, right? And she's just found this random bit of paper she's now playing with. It's like, kids, when you buy them a present, they love the box more than the actual present that they do. So tell me, mate, what you been up to this weather? What you been painting?
Oh, what we've been painting? So I'm bouncing. So March has just passed, as you perfectly aware, and I did Lieutenant Calcis for March for my crag. I always paint a wee ultramarine every March of some kind. Last year I did Aureo Ventris. The year before it I did Marnes Calgar, and A Brush with Death, who you may follow on here, was doing a March from a Crag competition to win some lovely prizes, and so I thought I'll just paint this wee lad up and see if it wins a prize. It didn't win, but people liked it, and so that's all that matters. We're all winners in the end, as they say.
And did you keep it? Did you do like traditional ultramarine styles, or did you potter about with it a wee bit? Maybe do the Death Watch scheme for those that don't know.
No, I didn't do anything too special for him because I kept him a pretty classic second company lieutenant. But what I did do is he had a tilting shield on him because my mate had given me him, and so he'd added the tilting shield, so I kept that on. and did that in lieutenant style colours because he didn't have a helmet on. I did one of the bear heads from the Stern Guard veterans kit because I like doing my bear heads, and I practiced some sort of interesting fading and stubble on the head, which seemed to come out quite nice. And a wee bit more weathering and chipping. And he's also the first model I've got my new slate on, because I got a load of slate from the lovely, handsome Graham down in Yorkshire, E-Up Painting. Shout out to E-Up Painting. He got me a load of dark and light slate and cut it all up for me just because he's a cool guy. And so that's the first of that slate that's on him now, and it came out really nice. So I was happy with that, but he didn't win, but that's life in it. At least he's painted. At least he's painted.
It's another one off the pile of opportunity, shall we say.
This is right. This is right. Otherwise, in that March was taken up with a few wee repair jobs. I finished off Lieutenant Zachariah, which is a classic. I say classic now. He's only about 7 or 8 years old, the model, but he's out of production now. He's the Dark Angels Lieutenant that came out right after Primaris first came out. And I had one, and I cut them up to pieces to make a Primaris Azrael back in the day when there wasn't one. But I really wanted a nice clean one that I would just paint just as best as I could. And another legend, another shout out to community legend, 41st Millennium Dave was selling his, and rather than make like £200 off an out of production model, he sold it to me at cost because he's just a fantastic guy. And so I painted that, and I absolutely love it, and it'll be a pride and joy in my collection for many years.
I mean, that's what this community is good at as well. Is like, if you're looking for something, people aren't going to rip you off and sell you for.
I told him as he was buying it, I said, "Miss, listen, man, I know how valuable this model is. Here's the core of it. I know how valuable it is. You know, it's not, you know, he'll make his money back on it. You know, he could have sat there with a big pile of profit and turned that into more models, and I told him honestly, you want to sell this to someone else, do it, man. I will not hold it against you, but I can only afford this much just now. You know, I'll pay you more than it's worth, but I can only afford this much." And he was like, "Don't worry about it, man. I know you'll look after it. I know it means more to you." And I was like, "Yes, it does." And what a legend he was. And I put my absolute, you know, went pell-mell for leather and the painting on it, and came out really nice. So I'm really pleased with that too. And 41st Millennium Dave, get him followed. He's a legend.
Yeah, he is a legend. And shout out to 41st Millennium Dave and Dyson Pigments for doing a wee venture together. The Painters Porto. It's a decent wee channel. Like I'm looking forward to seeing that grow and thrive, and see where they go to. They're trying to do some pretty good tutorials, I feel.
I think so too. I think so too. Dave is at his baseline a very good painter. You know, he's very good with his content. You know, I'm just bumbling about here, filming my face all the time, and he's doing some actually quality stuff. And he's a good guy. There must be something wrong with him. We don't know what it is yet, but we'll find out in time.
English, so I think he's trying to make up for that, and he's got a wee bit. He definitely is just for Dre men. There's no way that's his natural colour.
That silver fox look. That silver fox look there for the ladies out there. You know, you're a little bit older, but
I mean, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago we could have said Philip Schofield look, but we can't say that now.
It depends what context you mean. You know, it depends if he's been charged. Yeah, that sort of.
Yeah, A-Up Painting, if you've not seen Casey's story, he's using work is why he's been late back to sunny Peterborough. I think that's where he was now, because he was in London, and I think his meeting went on a wee bit longer than he thought it was going to go on. So he's going to be late back, but it's just typical Casey. We love a late Casey. If he's on time, then there's something to worry about.
Can't trust him. Classic Englishman. Classic.
And tell me this, I've seen you're starting to paint some Slanesh. How's that going for you?
I am on to the old I started painting my first infractors for the new Slanesh box, and I'm loving it. I love the designs. Got a big shout out to Graham again. He up painting, really looking after me, because I wasn't able to source the box initially. Sold out in fast. You know, it's FOMO. Everyone bought it. Everyone wanted it. I couldn't get a hold of one. He sorted me out. Got my Emperor's Children box, and now that's my commitment for the next few months to get them done. I've been doing test scheme this week, sort of change from my old style of Emperor's Children, because I had sort of a small force painted in a sort of warmer pink, which I liked at the time, but it's all undivided models. So I had Possessed, Chosen, and some regular Legionnaires finished. But now looking at the new stuff, it's so different in terms of its design aesthetic that I'm probably just going to strip them and use them for a Chaos Undivided Force of some kind, which I'm tempted to do in Night Lords, because if I'm going to be perverted and weird, I might as well collect all the perverted and weird legions. So good.
And what would you use to strip your models down with?
So I'm a big fan of isopropyl alcohol. I basically get some good quality Tupperware, fill it with isopropyl alcohol, and leave them sitting in it. And if the model has been primed properly, it'll take maybe a day to get everything off. But sometimes, if it's not been primed properly, or just you get lucky, it'll eat through it in like 20 minutes, and then you're able to scrub it with a toothbrush, and that'll take the lot off. Only problem with isopropyl is it'll eat into resin, so you can't use it to strip resin models. Safety tip for anyone watching in future: don't throw your resin model into it. And it might eat through some adhesives and glue as well, depending on what you use. So it'll eat through super glue if you've glued your models together with super glue. So you just need to be careful.
But that's not. How did she get that again? That's not a bad thing though, because sometimes you can maybe reposition the arm, or if you didn't like that weapon that you put on that person, and now you're like magnetizing them, it gives it a wee. You can magnetize them then, but that means you need to paint more weapons, I suppose.
It opens up some more opportunities again to redo things. I did that with my Demon Prince of Slaanesh that I was sort of halfway through working on maybe about 6 months ago, and I just didn't like how it was coming out. The color scheme wasn't working. I didn't feel, and it just the demonic skin I'd gone for just wasn't working as well as it had in other models. So stripped him, and because of the glue I'd used in places, some of it came away and it came apart. But I'm okay with that, because I'll do a bit more sub-assembly work and change up some of the weapons and stuff that I want to do for him. And so it just gives me the opportunity to like you said, to have another crack at it.
And that's a good thing as well with being able to do that, is that you do have that flexibility. I swear to God, I'm going to kill you. Not you. No, I was like, maybe Sam. Not you, Ryan, because you're a good Scotsman. And the dogs put me way off what was my assay there as well. I bought something off Amazon, and pretty much you can only leave the model in there for about 20 minutes, and then it's like, it is good. And
yes, is it simple green and stuff? I'll see a lot of people use that. And
I can't remember the name of it, but because it's in my back toilet, that's where I do all my stripping for the ladies. He is late. So I know what I was going to ask you. Are you one of those people that, when they're working on something and they know it's not working, are you wanting to just put it to the side and try it later, or do you just instantly go, right, I'm just going to strip this back and restart it?
I tend to put it down for a while. I'm more of a put downer than a stripper. I sort of come back to it and try and reevaluate it and look at it again and say, well, if this isn't right, maybe if I do this with it, but that just adds to the pile of shame. As you know, if you leave stuff down for too long, you'll just be not happy with it. I did that with my Uriel Ventris last year. I'd got him sort of 75% done, but I wasn't happy with him. Put him down, and then I actually stripped him again before March from the Crag and redid the whole thing. And he came out much nicer, so it works plenty of times. You can't predict it, in terms of that. Sometimes you'll do a better job, sometimes you won't. But every time I've done it so far, I've been happy with going, stripping, and starting again. Just a nice clean break.
BioStrip is what I use.
BioStrip, yes, I've heard of BioStrip. It's got a good rep. Don't know if it leaks through resin, but I know that isopropyl does.
Yeah, you only put that in BioStrip for like 20 minutes. I even used BioStrip on paint I got in my jeans, and the paint was drawn up, because I was wearing my jeans, which I shouldn't have been wearing when I was painting in the first place.
Yep.
And I got paint on a brand new pair of jeans, and I was like, oh, it was years.
As well know, it's got to be the full PVC smock for any painting. That was a rookie error on your part.
Yeah, it's got to be the Breaking Bad gas mask, or even sometimes my Hellraiser outfit that I used to wear back in the day.
Absolutely. Whips, chains, buckles, hail the Dark Prince, absolutely.
So what was is it just because the models that came out, you went back to the Emperor's Children, or is it just you like the lore of the Emperor's Children? Because they have got probably one of the best lores out there.
Agreed, man. Two things that probably did it for me for Emperor's Children. I've always wanted to collect them for ages, ever since I read Fulgrim, the book by Graham McNeill,
Yeah.
who is a good Scottish boy as well. And I say good Scottish boy, I mean the man back in the day, knowing, reading back about him and following online and stuff. Back in second to third edition to fourth edition, back when I first came into the hobby, he was sitting in the lore office at Games Workshop with a team of like two other guys writing everything I loved about Games Workshop. He's, from moving from second edition to third edition, these guys were building the foundational building blocks of what the lore is now, on top of the original creators. And there's so much good stuff. And then Horus Heresy comes out. What am I, 14 or something? And I'd sort of moved away from painting the models at that point. I'd collected a High Elf army, and Fulgrim comes out, and I just devour that book.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's infamous even now. I think you're a good contributor to the lore if there's parts of your lore that you've written that people still mention whenever you bring up the faction. It's the same way the whole I am Alfarius thing, and from Dan Abnett, or certain factions have just become connected with certain bits of lore, and Fulgrim was that for the Emperor's Children in terms of a revamp for them. And I just love the story and the characters involved and the duality of them and the excessiveness, and how Fulgrim's problem as a character, I think, is he's almost too human in places, but expects so much of himself that it just, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to find a contentment that others can find, and that's what drives him on and on into his series of increasingly catastrophic decisions. That, in the start of the book he's an icon, and by the end of the book he's impaling people into statues because they've pissed him off. It's a real hero's fall journey, and it just lands brilliantly. And so I loved it from then. Read everything I could about the Emperor's Children, but the models back then, we're talking, I'd stopped collecting by that point. Came back round to it when I came back into the hobby. And then as the new Chaos Undivided stuff came out, I was like, great, I'll do an Emperor's Children army, but I'll just paint them pink and black. I'll do that scheme, I'll work on that. And I bought a load of stuff and I was working on it. But I think then the new Dark Angel stuff came out last year, and the line and everything, and that totally threw my schedule off. If your first love army gets a whole load of new models, you're going to struggle to keep focused. And that's what happened. So I went off painting Dark Angels for ages and paused the Chaos team. And then by the time I want to come back around to it, and I've nearly done a lot of my Dark Angel stuff, the new models were on their way, and everything was teased, and I was like, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. And they also brought out several units that I think that army needed to make them more Emperor's Children, like the Flawless Blades I love, because they're an evolution of the Palatine Blades from Horus Heresy, and it feels more Slanesh-like than a Chaos Undivided army could achieve. So still not perfect. I think there's still some units missing that would help complete and round out the army, but every model in that set is superb, and I'm thrilled to have it. And Graham there in the chat sorted me out and got me back on track.
I think just what up painting Graham was saying.
Yes, yeah.
I think you can feel sorry for all the Chaos Primarchs, because they were all kind of screwed over. Like, for me, when I was reading Fulgrim, I was thinking, I always try and place things in a timeline where I can visualise it. I always thought, for me, that Fulgrim was like a kind of French aristocrat.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of decadence, and kind of before the French Revolution, and they all get beheaded. I could see Fulgrim excelling in that sort of place, and Andron, he wanted to die with his people, and then was whisked away at the last minute. I mean, all the Primarchs have got real bad daddy stories. Maybe apart from Horus and Alfarius, I think all the other ones you can really see why they fell, and their deep flaws. Like, Mortarion just wanted to protect his sons. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's been a good thing in terms of changing the lore in the Horus Heresy over the course of the books, is making the majority of the Primarchs sympathetic figures. Their human sides, their choices are more understandable in places. Like Angron went from, a completely one-dimensional um, character that was just angry Ron. No, we didn't know that much about him. He was a gladiator who killed things, and he was very angry and furious. But you ask anyone about the World Eaters and why they're so popular now. It's not just because they're the close combat army and we like chopping things up in blood for the blood god and all that. His story is so much more sympathetic, and then they added much more tragedy and nuance to it because Angron's Primarch special ability was apparently meant to be increased empathy and connection to others and humans, and he loses all of that completely. When he's this broken weapon that's just thrown into combat.
Eos
So
retracts his statement and says it was about the Thousand Sons. But yeah, like the Thousand Sons thought that they were doing the right thing. But going back to to Fildrim, probably my favourite characters in the the Emperor's Children is Lucius, because I think he is probably one of my favourite written characters, solely for the fact that he just lost the plot once he got his nose broke. That was it. He was totally cooked, and he just couldn't handle being not flawless. And it was just that kind of duality where we think that everybody wants to be pretty, but once you look, beauty is only skin deep, and underneath his beauty, he was a rotten character to the core, to the extent where he kind of betrayed his brothers.
that's what I love that they try to do in the horror series. I know people just say, "Oh, these are all bolter porn and all that." And don't get me wrong, there is just books where two groups of big, super muscly, manly men smash into each other. But there's so much nuance to some of the chosen books. Like you said, Lucius's character, each character, especially in that early trilogy, there's a point where they all make a
Yeah.
choice. They make a choice about where they are going and what they're going to do and where they're going to land on the side of this civil war. And you can track Lucius's and when he chooses, and Saul Tarvitz and all these different characters. There's a point where they make the choice, and it's great that they include that. And some of that doesn't conclude until the very last book of the Siege, in terms of the end and the death, and those themes and features come back. And that's just expert storytelling. For all that people say the Black Library is rubbish, and there is plenty of rubbish and dross in there. Don't get me wrong, I've read a lot of it, but when it's good, it's really, really good, and that's why it's so popular.
One of my favourite lines in the Siege of Terror books is, I don't remember what book it is, but it's like one of the Death Guard, like they're attacking, and I think they're out with Mortarian's veil, and then he sees what a nerdling actually is, and he's horrified that he loves that nerdling, but then
Yes,
whatever
yeah,
happens, the veil comes back over him, and then he thinks it's the cutest thing ever. I
I know.
think that as well, it kind of gives that kind of humanity side to the Death Guard Marines, that they are just mindless drones, kind of like the Thousand Suns. Like we all like ripped our heads off in Space Marine 2, and it was just cosmic dust. But with the Death Guard, you feel like a lot of them were tricked,
Yeah.
and they were just. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly right. That's the feeling about it of, if you're told you're the greatest for 100 years as you go to war and beat absolutely everyone, you don't think there's any. You can get why they thought there was nothing they couldn't face, that they couldn't overcome in some way. And even the Primarchs thought that. They thought no matter what they faced, they could, overcome it. As long as they made the choices that they made. But that's the horror of Space Marines. Don't get me wrong, I love, like you said in Space Marine 2, hero manly Space Marines destroying the enemies of humanity. Space Marines, if you get down into the core of the lore of them, and that's laid out, each individual Space Marine, because of the type of treatment and hypnotherapy they go through, is basically a gun that you can point. So there's a great sequence in one of the Dark Angels books where Asmodai, everyone's favourite angry chaplain Asmodai, uses trigger words and prayers on a Belial. Now, Belial is the captain of the first company, he's the Grand Master of the Death. He's all these titles. He's the greatest duelist of the Dark Angels. He's the next Supreme Grand Master. And Asmodai essentially turns him off with a series of trigger words. You know, so these are meant to be the heroes of the Imperium, but they're not. They're guns that can be pointed and turned on and off, and if you know how to do it, and that's the horrible truth and reality of these characters that they don't even know it.
It's kind of like in a kind of loose kind of connection. I don't know if you watched the remastered Battlestar Galactica.
Oh no, I've never watched it.
Well,
It keeps coming up in my to watch list.
but there's like in the very first episode, it kind of like the miniseries. Watch the miniseries first before you watch the main series. Like they put like the Cylons manipulate this guy called Gaius Baltar, who's the best brain of them all, and one of them she seduces him because she's a robot, but
Mm. I
she
totally
also
get that.
and she puts in backdoors to the defense systems of the 12 colonies. So when the Cylons go to attack, she just flicked a switch, like you're saying with the Space Marines. Certain words will just turn them off,
Yeah,
and then that's what
yeah.
happens. And then that's how Battlestar Galactica. It's a great series, by the way. I fucking love Battlestar Galactica.
So much good sci-fi out there I need to come back around to and commit the time to watching and stuff. What I have been doing in the last year, hobby, jumping back to hobby related stuff, just like Fulgrim and reading books. I've got into the audiobooks, man. I've made so much more progress than listening to audiobooks when I'm driving, and then when I'm painting, I'm now getting back through books again. Even though I love having proper hard copies and paper copies of books, I just feel the books and stuff and collecting everything. That's been a big help in making progress and a lot of reading again.
Yeah, I'm listening to Cadia Falls by
Yes.
Robert Rath, and I was hoping to go through it quicker than what I've actually went through it.
Mm.
So I was going to start rating books out of Wrath. So I was going to go, that's a 5-star Wrath book or a 4-star Wrath book. But that was like 8 months ago I started listening to that. But so just going back to Emerald Knight, I have read the Fabius Biles books. I think they are really good books. And it's a model that I would like to eventually paint when I'm better than what I am just now.
Have him, I've built him, but he sat there again. He was part of that chaos contingent that has sat for the last year. But now we're in it. Even though he's not a Legion brother, he'll need finished because he's another great character. I've not read his series. I bought the first audiobook for him for his trilogy, so I need to read that.
It's mental. Like I'll send you the second one. I've got lots of free credits. I'll send you the second one.
I go.
It's a great. I like listening to those sorts of books. Like we can all like because when people would ask what books would you go through, I always tell them to read the Gar Vorbeck duo books.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
what
The
a
first
tragic character he was with Erebus. Fucking Erebus bastard.
No one likes the word bearers, but everyone loves the first Heretic as a book, man, because it's so well written by Aaron Dembski-Bowden. Because
Yes.
even amongst the villains, there's heroes, and the Argyle Tal, you could argue,
Yeah.
he's one of the worst heretics of all. He's possessed, but he's like the Thousand Sons. It's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He does what he thinks right, and he's told by people more knowledgeable and wiser than him, which is what everyone thinks of Lorgar and all the Primarchs, to do these things. And this is where he ends up. He ends up damned, and his soul consumed. And
But the one person that
good
tried
job.
to help him was the person that possessed him because they knew. And he just
Mm,
didn't listen to his wee passenger. He was too busy
mm,
thinking of what Erebus said when he first met him, that he was special. So, like, the background was done when he was, like, first picked up by Erebus, that he was a special one and good things were going to happen to him. And, like, it's that loyalty, isn't it, really,
mm.
with Space Marines? That, like, the loyalty goes far too, except if you're Fabius Bile. He seems to be the only Space Marine that I came across, or former Space Marine, that isn't deeply loyal to anybody, which is weird.
That's right. He's some of the characters are aberrations in terms of they're just aberrations in terms of what Space Marines are and what we understand. They're all these identikit mass-produced super soldiers, but there's these standout characters that are exceptional, and they that's where Fabius Bile is. Even in the back of the start of the heresy, even before, the right after the Lair compliance at the start of Fulgrim, he's already mixing potions in his secret lab. He's up to, illicit nonsense the moment someone says go. So,
But that's all down to, because from what I remember in the lore, he was only one of 100 that were left. Is that right? The 100 sons that were left, and then
yeah,
he was the only apothecary left as well. So
yeah,
he basically had free reign to do what the fuck he wanted, because there was nobody there to challenge him.
yeah.
So, and that was all due to their gene defect. Their gene defect was at 100. Was it? It was
Yes.
100, wasn't it?
Yeah. They were down to the last 100 or something. They ended up joining the Sons of Horus for a period of time until they could rebuild their numbers and recruit. And it's and that's where he gets the name the Phoenician. They rebuild over time, etc., and they recruit from Chemos, etc. But yeah, you're right. Some are given freedom and do well with it, and some don't, and it is that question of this is why it's an interesting concept, because these are men given so much power, and what does it do when it corrupts you, and what you can do with it and where you can take it. And you look at, like you said, from Horus, who doesn't have as good a reason as he's corrupted. He starts off as a hero that just wants to live up to his father, and by the end he's massacring whole populations and on a whim.
But do you not feel that was a waste of a character, really? Because if you look at it, he doesn't really have the evolution like some of the other Primarchs had. Where it was as though, like, he was in death's door, and then he kind of just became a bit part, I feel, compared to some of the other Primarchs.
In a way, I think it could have been done a little better. I say that as though I have any idea how to write fantastic novels. I think Graham McNeill did a cracking job, and I don't think they put the way Chaos made Horus fall in that second book, False Gods, feels a little flimsy. It feels like maybe they could have extended it out a bit into a long time, because it feels like why is Horus never suspicious of these apparent gods and their visions to him? Why are only 9 of his brothers shown as being celebrated by the Emperor? Is that a coincidence? You telling me these genius intellects can't work out that maybe 9 of them did something really bad? So that feels a little hollow in places. But I suppose he's offered that choice of die. You're going to die. The Emperor cannot save you from here. You will die, Horus. You will die right now here in the Davin Lodge if you don't agree. So it's death or fall. And he is not strong enough to choose death, as it were, which is different from Loken, which is different from his sons, who have less power, but make the right choice for the sake of it. So if Horus was a stronger character, he would have chosen to die. But he was too in love with his own ideas, his own what he was, and that's what drew him. But it wasn't as well explained as I felt it could have been. And I felt there was too many points in the story of Horus over the course of the heresy where he is either underpowered or wounded or weak or going mad. But don't get me wrong, obviously falling to chaos must be a hell of a mind trip. It doesn't look like a pleasant experience. The only time I felt that he was in control is the book, another Graham McNeill book, is Vengeful Spirit, when he goes to Moloch and sort of claims the power of the Chaos Gods, the same power that the Emperor stole through the Chaos Gate. And you felt he was more in control then. But then the 10 books after that, he gets wounded by Leman Russ, and he's having visions, and he's going back and forth. But there's a bit of a payoff in the Siege of Terra, but I don't think it lands fantastically well, because they write him in the last Siege books going mad, basically. He's descended into dementia, and what I did like in the techniques, although, from Dan Abnett, which shows he's a master writer because you never see it, he writes all of Horus in second person. So the first person view, second person view, third person view. Second person is very unusual in books, but it illustrates his fractured mind so well, referring to himself in second person. But then it all is revealed as a ploy. You know, he has descended into dementia to hide his true intentions and plans from the Emperor, which kind of works. So there's some payoff, but there's like you said, there's flimsiness to it that doesn't land quite as well. But overall, I don't mind. But it could have done better. No, I couldn't have. But you know, yeah.
So what's
I'm still allowed to criticise.
Oh yeah, of course. What's making you go onto Night Lords now then?
I just, I really like the concept. I'm a Batman fan to begin with. There's that. You know, I've collected Batman comics for years, so you know, Space Batman appeals to me, and I had some. I always just thought they were quite cool in their their extremeness of what they are and the criminality element of them, and all the Batwing design and everything was you know, mental, and it's gotten better with that latest Kill Team box, and I've bought some of that, and I just thought, well, if I'm going to paint all those undivided models that I have, I want some lightning bolts on them. That's what next appeals to me as a legion, as it were. So I'm gonna go for them, and also I still need to finish reading the original Night Lords trilogy. I've got that on audiobook. I'd started reading it in paperback, and I just didn't finish it. I can't remember why I got distracted, but I was enjoying it along then. Those are old books by Erin Dembski Bowden, but everyone who's read them says they're fantastic, so I need to get onto that too. So yeah, that's where I'm with that.
And have you done any test schemes for them yet?
Not yet. What I do on Instagram is I follow everyone I can, which is why I've got to the maximum number of followers and can't fit no more in, and just hunt for tutorials on everything and collect big folders of tutorials and different paint schemes for everyone, so that there'll come a day where I want to paint my Night Lords, and I'll have 100 people's different painted Night Lords in one big folder that I can just read through and see, you know, take the advice and see what other people have done, assess techniques, and just steal things from better painters. Really, that's the core.
You're a good painter yourself, man. I enjoy watching your stuff.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I know you're solid yourself. You really are, and we have to big each other up. And I've definitely improved over time. I
think we've all improved over time, because I've noticed a difference in my painting. And I think as long as you're progressing and you can see small differences in yourself, then that's progress. I mean, I don't look for other people to give me plaudits. I look for people to help me with certain things, like wet blending. I'm trying to do wet blending on my rottages and stuff like that. So I'm always looking for advice off of people, and I'll DM people that way. But no, like, I enjoy your stuff, man. You're a good painter. I enjoy having you on, and you're also the current Inquisition champion. Right. I'll be back in a minute. Casey, right, give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. Sorry, I'm very, very late tonight. Got a conference all day at work. And yeah, it's been a pain in the bum. How are you, Ryan? You alright?
I'm good, man. Good to see you. How are you getting on? How was that canal walk? I saw your photo there. It looked sinister when you were on the way home.
See, I thought that was the quick way home, and it turned out all I did was dodge junkies. So maybe not go that way again. But yeah, it was scenic. It was pretty, at least.
As I crunched over the needles, I thought, this is beautiful.
Oh yeah, the sound of heroin getting cooked. It's beautiful.
What an evening.
Yeah,
the sizzling smell of heroin in the air.
Close your nose and run past. So I caught a bit there. You're doing your Night Lords at the minute. You got your Batman fetish, obviously. I
got my Emperor's Children back on, and then have some Night Lords in the future. Lots of plans with, you know, piles of shame associated with it. Good times.
Yeah, March for McCrag was very impressive. Lieutenant Calcius. How long you been sitting on that little boy? Because he was released years ago.
Yeah. So he came out with that first set of magazines 5 years ago, man. I didn't get him, but then about 3 years ago, my buddy Alex, who got me back into the hobby now 6 years ago, he got him, and he painted Ultramarines back in the day when he came back to the hobby, but he then diverted off into Custodes because he likes heroes, golden boys. And he was like, Ryan, do you want to paint this guy? And I was like, yes, I would love to have a crack at him, because I love the design of Calcius, with the Ultramarines Gladius style sword and stuff. He's a pretty epic model. So he just sat there for ages. And then Marchford McCrag came round, and I was like, well, he's sat there. I'm going to have a crack at him. I'd sprayed him ages ago, and he just sat there and sat there and sat here. And then I was just like, I'm going to go for it. But he had the lieutenant head on. My buddy had glued the lieutenant head on him, that with the helmet, not Calcius's original head. So I don't know. I think he must have that in his bits pile somewhere, the original Calcius head. So I was like, I'm not going to go hunting for that. But I do want a bear head, because I do like painting bear heads for characters, for drama. I like the drama.
Now, I actually think I have his head somewhere, because when that model come out, I didn't like it too much. I ripped it off for a sergeant, and then the sword I've put on another sergeant. But I think I do have the mop hair somewhere. So if you put a call out, I probably would have been able to send it to you. But I think like you say, the bear head works much better.
Yes, just for the drama purposes. So
I took well with our veteran.
He's got a nice fade going on. He's got a nice little fade going on with him there. So he's a handsome boy. He's a handsome boy.
Mm-hmm. It is something that's interested me, right? Because skin I can't deal with at the best of times anyway. I'm starting to get there. Hair, right? If it's molded on, I'll have a crack, but I'm never impressed with it. So how do you get that sheen on a bald head to make it look like he's got the old skin fade?
Well, so I glazed that head. So I painted him as if he was bald, first of all. Paint him as though his head is just his head, and he's just a nice, shiny, bald head. And and then I highlight across the top of it so that's where the light is sort of hitting him and coming down onto his face. And then I glazed a combination of Null Oil, good old classic, and Dark Reaper. So I started off with a Dark Reaper, very super thin glaze over it, and just built that up until you could basically, that's to get the fade effect, which is you still see the skin through it, the skin colour, but it's got this darker grey across the top of it, and that came out quite nice. Just getting the hairline right and working it from there.
The control on the glaze though has to be pretty spot on, because you don't want to be running down his face, do you? And you end up looking like.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, I'm talking about such small amounts of paint and it's only like one little dot. It's his head. It's what Space Marine head is like. They're not big, so you're just using tiny amounts and building up the layers. Thin coats, always thin coats. So it is just building until you're happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds solid.
Pencil Pearl. I don't think I have a favourite Instagram account. Maybe apart from the Inquisition or our sponsors, Orange Brushes. And Stage Scenics. But apart from that, I don't think I actually have a favourite page. One page I try and avoid is Warcape Studios page, because that's just full of nonsense.
Just filth.
It is a lot of nonsense.
Just so much. It's just him bragging about all these women. It's just unbelievable.
And he's name dropping. Oh, I'm going to hang about with Peachy. I'm going to hang about with Duncan Rhodes. But I mean.
You mention anyone famous in the hobby, and Sam's like, oh yeah, I know him. Yeah, he's great. He's really nice. He's really
my
nice.
garden, Simon. Yeah, sharp. I have a garden now. Look at that. It's an absolute pain in the ass. I hate gardening.
Anybody taking up our Siege Orange Scenics business model yet? Any orders?
No, we didn't get any orders for the Orange Scenics, I'm afraid. So I think we may as well just put it all in the bin. Right. Or the compost heap, because that's where it all came from anyway. It's worth a go. Stinks in there as well. I opened it up earlier and it smelled like this fucking seaside. Yeah.
It's fine. We'll try again next year. We'll try again.
A new venture. We did some new Del Boy thing. Yeah,
so obviously you're the current Inquisition champion. Did you put that in your CV? Do you brag to people that you're undefeated in the Triz arena yet?
I only really bring it up with Dave Hammer anytime he interacts with me. I just loser, and just throw it in there in the conversation just to keep him on edge at all times. It was funny, Cooking out of nowhere, our buddy Cooking over in Germany, she was like, I'm going to challenge you, and still it's not actually materialised into any real challenge, so, it's just a big old coward. I'm very proud of my victory.
Just intimidated by your good looks and your spectacle wearing abilities.
That's it. That's it. It's just the sheer raw sexual magnetism I bring to any stream is intimidating, and that's how I managed to beat Dave by distracting with the occasional wink.
And I mean, that's why we try and like study you come on every 8 months, because that's only after 8 months then we feel as though it's only worthy to bring you back on.
Well, this is good because you can then chart it now, because I've been on a diet since November and I've lost a chunk of weight and I still need to lose more. So I looked tubby and jolly in the last one, and I'm starting to hopefully get a bit tighter. So when you get me back on in 8 months' time, I'll just be ripped as, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, yeah, I mean that's roughly Christmas time, so we'll see. Do you know what I mean? And
Sounds good, man.
how's that going for you, man? The weight loss. What did you change in your diet, and what have you done to lose a wee
I
bit
feel
of the beef?
it's a diet revamp with the missus. So just going from we weren't that careful in terms of how we ate, and we were big bad snackers, man. Like, see, since we had the girls, like of an evening, chocolate cakes, desserts, just bad sugary crap, because you were knackered. You know what it's like raising kids. It's just you're done at the end of the day. So instead of doing anything sensible, I mean, looking back on it, Katie and I's diet was shocking, because we were big bars of chocolate every night, and then eating the same in the daytime. So it was no wonder that the weight just crept on and crept on. So that all went trimmed down, a little bit from time to time. Don't get me wrong. If you go cold turkey on it, you just end up craving things. But then bulking up the amount of protein, and going for a diet meal plan, with a few different stores and sort of repeated patterns of a few diet meals here and there, and a bit of different cooking. Just up, that classic thing people say, up your protein content. We definitely have with that. And cut down a lot of the bread, rice use that was excessive, and trying to mix, that sounds so boring. But I've not been back to the gym properly. I do a little bit more exercise in the house, and I've lost 2 stone and 4 pounds at this point. But that's from November, so that is, like 4 months basically.
Well, is that not the way you're supposed to lose it? Like, I've lost a stone. I'm losing weight now as well. I've lost a stone in 4 weeks,
And
but it's supposed to be a wee bit, because it's easier to keep off.
maximum safe is meant to be, from med school, and it's still true, is about £3 a week. Anything more than that, you're probably pushing your biological mechanisms into a starvation state, and you don't want to go in a starvation state, because the body will start to crave more stuff and basically start sending out signals that you need to be eaten, or there's a crisis going on and you use the energy wrongly. So yeah, about £3 a week, and I'm roughly managing that, give or take. So just need to keep on with it.
Yeah, I mean, I've cut out bread, because I don't eat bread at all. I think I've got a slight gluten intolerance, because I did have a beef burger on Sunday, and as soon as I ate that bun, I was sick. So I think I've got, it depends what pasta I eat as well, but I've cut bread right out, and as you say, more protein, and I'm actually just eating 3 times a day now, instead of once in 24 hours. I'm just like feasting. I would be
Yeah.
But do you feel the weight off you?
I do feel like, better. And it's interesting you say that. Like, I can't eat big. I used to be a big portion eater as well. Like, if I went to it, I was going out for dinner. I went to the starters, mains, and a full dessert. All the trimmings sort of vibe when you went out for dinner. Now, if I finish my main, it's a miracle, because I think that genuine stomach shrinking aspect of it's just too much. And also then the middle age heartburn, all this chat that really gets the ladies excited as my stomach rebels against eating, that kicks in as well if I overdo it. So it's just about good choices, like you said, man. I've not cut out bread and carbs entirely, but the amount of what I used to consume, has definitely gone down.
Simon's asking, when is your fitness video, and when?
Well, I've already filmed all those topless shots that Simon asked, so I don't know what he's doing with them, or I mean, I was flexing for hours and I got quite sweaty. He said he wanted the sweat; that was really important, apparently, and the grunting. I had to grunt louder towards the end. I don't know why. So hopefully Simon will be releasing them soon in our combination, or he might keep them for himself. It's very possible.
He does like to collect sweat. He does like to collect sweat. Maybe because he asked for my sweat as well.
Yeah.
He didn't ask
Yeah.
for mine.
Maybe it's just Scottish sweat he likes then.
Probably. Probably.
Well, I don't know what fluid Simon asked for from Casey, but you know, who knows?
I wouldn't want any fluid from me if I was him, to be honest with you. They are only for my own use. Yes, that makes sense, Simon. Right, gentlemen, sorry, I have to jump off. I do apologise. It's a fleeting visit from me tonight. I am very sorry for this. Dunk, I'll give you a call later.
I know.
And Ryan, I'll speak to you in Thingy Group. Toodaloo.
Yes, indeed.
Love
yes,
you.
indeed.
Right. So are you playing much Space Marine 2 these days?
I did have a big glut of it for a while, man. What a ride Space Marine 2 has been since it's been out. I set up a little chat on here, which Casey's part of as well, to just synchronize normal folk on Instagram, and so we can all play together and stuff. It's slowed down a little in the last month or so, but I think that's just because we're waiting on more content and stuff coming out for it, and it's been great.
You'll need to add me to that, because I've now got an Xbox X, the new Xbox.
Excellent.
So I can now play Space Marine 2.
Right after this, we're getting you on. It's a good bunch of guys. Sam's in there too. Poor Graham there, who's still in the chat. He wasn't part of it. We keep hinting that Graham should buy himself a PS5 or an Xbox, but at the same time, he needs to afford to eat and look after his wife, and he's got these other demands on his finances, like looking after his work van and stuff.
If he can afford to send people Slate, does he really need to eat?
No, I paid him for the slate. To be fair, I did send him money for the slate. He was a very generous man, and I did pay him for the slate, because I can't be saying go buy a PlayStation while at the same time mugging him off for rock.
And I must say, I've not finished the campaign yet, because I just like to play PvP. I enjoy the play. I like how you only get a certain amount of points for leveling up, so it is a bit of a grind to level up.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy. What's your class of player that you go? What's your default?
I'm a big PvE man myself, in all honesty. PvP I've always been crap at. I don't think I've got the reaction times for it, but I love the fantasy of all the running through the PvE levels and stuff. So I like all the classes, to be honest. But I ran Bulwark initially because I love a good knight class. You know what I mean? A sword and board vibe. And then of course he got his Dark Angels champion armor, which was just, I wore that for every game afterwards. So he was my first to get to level 25, and will probably be my first prestige class when that comes out soon. And I've worked on everything else. Love the tactical, love the universality of it. Sniper, I want to love sniper because I like shooting things from far range, but I never feel I've leveled up the guns to be powerful enough, so I feel very useless in sniper. I like Vanguard, that's pretty solid, but my favourites are probably Bulwark and Tactical. Heavy's always fun. It's just a big chunky boy running about with the biggest gun. That's always fun. But probably Bulwark and Tactical are my two favourite classes. What about you, man?
I feel as though the maps are too small for Sniper.
Yeah. Because it's all corridors.
Yeah.
If you get your corridors, it's just the map design problem. It's not a problem. It's great at what it is. I think the problem for me is I know what the perfect Space Marine 3 game would be in my brain, stealing bits from other games. And I was playing Helldivers 2 at the same time. I don't know if you ever picked up Helldivers, but it's not on Xbox, I think. But Helldivers is basically Imperial Guard the game, or Kazarkin the game, Special Forces the game sort of thing, with a PvE element. And if they slammed the mechanisms of Helldivers 2 with Space Marine 2, and then for spice add in the Nemesis enemy system from Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, you'd have the perfect Space Marine game, and I would play it forever, because I'm still playing Helldivers 2 a year later.
I'm a heavy boy. I just like standing with the big gun, throwing my shield off.
But what about your class, though?
Yeah, you need to subscribe to my OnlyFans for that. But I like the heavy bolt on, just shooting away.
Yeah, the heavy bolter. That was what's great about Space Marine 2, and I go about this in other podcasts and stuff I've been on. It feels right, if you know what I mean. Like, throwing about your sword and your thunder hammer and your plasma cannon and your heavy bolter, they feel like the powerful weapons that they should be, and that's where the Nids were the perfect enemy for that. They've done that. That's the only thing I worry about with Space Marine 3 is killing Nids is so much fun en masse. what enemy could quite achieve the same thing, because Thousand Suns are fun, but they're a bit limited as an enemy, and the Nids are so much fun in terms of what they do and the role they fulfill in the game.
I think for Space Marine 3, you have to revisit the orcs, because obviously Space Marine 1 was heavily orc, but I don't think we really got the proper feel of fighting orcs with the technology at the time in the 360. So I think you would have to have orcs in there, proper orcs, or even kind of do what they kind of did in Grand Theft Auto 5 or 6 or whatever one, the most recent Grand Theft Auto, where you change characters, right? So maybe you're fighting from the Imperial Guard perspective, and then you're fighting other Chaos cultists, or you're fighting Nids, and then you're maybe jumping to a Space Marine. I think it kind of they have to evolve the game in that aspect for me, I feel, or even just doing it from a Chaos perspective.
Yeah, oh no, I agree. I think that would be an interesting change up, and just adding those layers to it to expand it out would be fantastic. And what else is there?
Necrons, like we don't think we fought any Necrons yet. I mean, that would be...
Well, with all the teasers of Necrons at the end of the, they've done a bit of the architecture and the maps that match Necron tier. I think they're a good, strong contender for being the main enemy the next time, because they kind of can fulfill that Tyranid role, because you can have, hordes of warriors, but they're not quite Termagants or Hormagants sort of vibe. They're not close combat, but you can have hordes of warriors with more elite troops at the back, and then a few special troops to fight. So that sort of dynamic might work for the Necrons being the equivalent to the Nids.
And then you could then have the Scarabs reanimating the fallen Necrons. So you then have to take care of the Scarabs, and I think that's why the PvP works so well in my eyes. Is that, see, when you get a bunch of guys that actually know what they're doing with their different classes, it works, because if you get maybe too tactical, too heavy, and maybe the Bulwark who throws that flag down that's just regenerating people's armour, once you get a combination of people that actually know how to play the game properly, you can actually win a game really quite easily with that.
Yes, no, and that's why I fall down. I think on PvP, I didn't invest the time in it to get good at being part of the team element of it. So, it's fine.
Because if you do run away yourself, you get absolutely smoked by 2 or 3 people at a time, where you need at least the same amount of people you're coming up against than the people you're fighting, or that are in your... You can't go 2v1, because you're going to get absolutely owned.
which is very realistic for what the game is and what the lore of Space Marines is. One Space Marine against one Space Marine is fair game, but 2-on-1 you've got to be a special Space Marine to handle that, and that's pretty much the way of it. Such a good game, man. Wasted hours on that, and still a good time. Looking forward to more content. More, was it the Space Wolf Champions coming out soon for Vanguard, and more. I do love all the bling. I paid for the whole DLC for the bling. If I'm sitting here, Edge Highlight and Ultramarines, of course I'm going to be into the digital bling that doesn't really exist.
Yeah. Of course, like I bought the Battle Pass, or the Seasons Pass, sorry. Battle Pass. I bought the Seasons Pass, so in the DLC, any more content. But I actually just need to finish the campaign. I think I'm at the point where you're fighting Thousand Suns, and I think I'm fighting the Sorcerer again. Yes. I think that's so I've got a decent bit in.
Yeah.
I know it's a short campaign, but once I realised I could play PvP, I was well and truly invested in that. So I need to go back and finish the campaign.
Have you played any of the PvE with teams? I mean, that's great. You feel like a proper squad of Space Marines doing, a Death Watch mission. That's what's so good about it. And
I've done a couple of them, but then I think I've done two of those missions where other people come in. But it's the same, like, people just fuck off, and you're like, dude, like, you're leaving me to hang here, like.
Yeah, that's why I got the Instagram group together, because you don't know what the randomers are like, and the quality goes up and down. People don't know what they're doing, so I'll get you in with chat, and basically whenever you need a brother, you just put out the flag in the chat and go, "Hey, we need help."
That'd be brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant. So when you're not doing Space Marine 2, and you're not losing weight, and you're not painting edge highlighting or buying bling, what are you doing in your spare time these days? Kids keeping you busy?
Yeah, the twins keep me very busy, man. They're 4 now. They're full of beans. Evenings are spent persuading them to eat. You know what it's like. You know, you feel like you're in the gulag trying to force feed people as one screams at you that she doesn't want to eat, even though she needs every calorie, the wee monster. But they're good girls. I'm very lucky. They're very good girls. They're very well behaved, man. Um, they're doing great at nursery. Developmentally, they're coming on fantastic. They're exactly where they need to be. They've got their wee health quibbles and problems, but nothing as severe as it could have been. You know, in terms of the challenge it could have been. We're very, very lucky. Hey, Chewy man. Yeah, oh yeah, I totally want to try that VR Space Marine game that's roaming around from different places. Hope it comes north at some point. Yeah, that's meant to be amazing.
So, what is there anything you're doing in your downtime yourself then?
Oh, I'm still doing a bit of reading, a little bit of gaming. Need to get back to the gym, like I said, man. That's the next step in terms of this weight loss journey. You know, need to get actually doing some more physical stuff rather than just a little bit of exercise in the house. You know, square up to the Simons of the world in the gym and start flexing those guns, or hide in the corner. Definitely one of the two.
It is tight though. And are you watching any TV shows just now? Are you watching anything that's good?
Yes, yeah, Adolescence, man. Did you catch Adolescence?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's
It's mental.
such a good show, man. It's such a good show. It's horrifying, don't get me wrong.
I watched that, but I'm also watching Secret Millionaire
Ooh.
on Netflix. It's your man Peter Surowitz, who was Darth Maul's voice in The Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's a reality show, so like 12 people turn up into this mansion that he owns, and there's one case with $1 million on it, and basically you have to convince people that you don't have the million, and they vote you out at the end. It's kind of like Traitors and The Mole, all the kind of good reality TV shows. But yeah, we're
Yes.
watching that. But it's a good, I'm enjoying that this now. I was
I'll have
actually
to.
watching it just before I came on because somebody gave it out.
So me and the missus got Traitors addicted and watched all of the UK and all of the US ones. The Traitors is top quality. We loved that. Adolescence was a journey, you know, even though we binged that over a couple of nights. Reacher, oh my god, I'm loving Reacher. On Prime, that's been really good. Thoroughly recommend that for both a combination of mystery and violence.
Is, is that the Reacher? Is that the one with the big muscly
Yes.
military police guy
Yes.
who
Yeah.
can't really act? But I don't think he. I don't think he's. But I like Casey. Casey, I lost him.
Yeah.
Is there a new season out or there's a new season due out? So
It's yeah, season 3 just finished on Amazon Prime there, so that's just came out, and they're filming season 4 in like the summertime because it's the big hit show on Amazon just now.
yeah, I'll definitely. Me and the missus will need to watch that because we do like Jack Reacher, even though he's a terrible actor, but he's got really big muscles. So
He's good at what he is in it. You know that. I mean, you're right. Jack Reacher as a character doesn't need a lot of nuance, but the nuance that he has is enough for Alan Richson, the big old muscly boy. It's quite funny because speaking of Sam before Watergate Studios, I think he lives now in the town where Alan Richson's
both he
from, and I think
does.
they all hate him.
Of course, Sam does. I think
Poor Sam did name drop him.
I know. Old name drop Sam. He's a good lad. Are you going to any festivals this year?
I've not got anything planned. Things I'm trying to do. Rally Games invited me in October to come down to Warhammer World for their day that they're doing down there, and I do really want to do that and get down there and see who else can be down there, and have a laugh and play some games at Warhammer World. But I've not committed to anything big otherwise. I'm going to a conference in Birmingham on schizophrenia in the next in May, so that'll be a laugh. But there we go. There's Simon there. He's doing rally games. Yes, so I'll see you there, Simon, and we can compare muscles.
Bring it the gun show. You can do a gun show
Yeah.
that close off,
That's
pose
right.
off.
My 28 was it the smallest gun, a 28 mm. I don't even know the proper gun terms. Tiniest little gun you can.
Yeah, even the small
Uh,
gun makes a big punch. That's what I keep saying to the wife.
that's that's you get some flexing done outside Games Workshop, and they'll be watching us from the office, going, "What is wrong with those nerds down there at the Rhino?"
Are they trying to? Are they trying to go with each other? Are they having a pose off?
Are they Are they touching each other? No, I don't know what's going on.
Is one of them taking a fit and the other one's thinking that he's doing something?
Oh yeah, one's taking the shirt off. Oh wait, no, they're both taking their shirts off now. I don't know what's going on down there, but I think we're gonna have to intervene.
But nothing. You're not going to like salute or anything like that. Nothing else planned.
No, nothing else planned for the big conferences, man. I'll keep an eye out for them. Chewy offering to come up and show out. So Simon and I are just posing our way there outside the rhino, and then the rhino lifts up and Chewy emerges from underneath it like a titan being deployed.
I know there was that
Um,
I know there was that one in Glasgow last year, and we had the herbalist last week. I can't remember what it was called.
Well,
Did you?
yes, yeah. Well, actually, I probably will be invited along to that because that's Reaper Wargaming, who's a follow on here is definitely worth following. Lovely guy and his club Reaper Wargaming that play out of one of the veterans clubs down at Ibrox, which is a wee part of Glasgow. You know, man. Um, Schlicker, how you doing, man? I'll explain that comment in a second. So they asked me to host their pub quiz, their Warhammer pub quiz for their tournament in November, which I had a great time doing. And they're doing another tournament in November. I might want to try and see if I can play at that and commit the weekend to it when the girls are a bit older and stuff. But it's a full weekend commitment. It's a big thing when you've got kids. So I'd like to maybe try that because they want me to host their pub quiz again. So all that lore is paying off in the end, and they were a really lovely bunch, and they looked after me brilliant, and everyone had a good time at the pub quiz. And I want to enter their painting competition as well. Herbalist, who's on, I do chat to her regularly. She hosts a great hobby club that she was talking about last time. That's not far away from me, and I've promised her I'll definitely go. I also said I'll sort her out with 40k RPG books for her D&D plans and similar. I need to make more of an effort. That's what I need to do. And comment there from Brushlicker, are you still looking for a guy in a scooter to transport something? I was on Brushlicker, the lovely Brushlicker there, and Stibio Miniatures podcast, the Imperial Brush podcast, to do some name dropping recently, and they're a lovely pair, and we talked a lot of nonsense, and we're not sure if Brushlicker did murder someone in the process of the podcast and transport the body on a scooter. It's hard to say. You'll have to listen and find out.
Did they need an alibi, and that's why he was like chatting to you at that particular time?
Yeah, there was a sort of 20-minute period where the screen froze, and it was just, it was frozen. He seemed to be that maybe, I don't know. Hard to say.
I'm pretty sure we'll see it in some good podcast you'll see on YouTube about murders at some point. Maybe. Maybe he's aye, maybe he's not.
Maybe he's aye, maybe he's no.
Is there anything that's coming out that you're looking forward to possibly collecting?
Fulgrim, man. Fulgrim's coming. Lucius is coming. The Flawless Blades Combat Patrol is coming. I want the lot. That's what my hobby dollars are being saved for, to go all the way. This year is the year of chaos for me. The Dark Angels will lie quiet unless I'm painting Emperor's Children. So I've got a full army. I've got the box, which is a good start. I've got a few other bits and pieces like a Rhino and a few other models to paint from them. But I'm getting everything Emperor's Children all the way. It's going all the way for that. Year of Chaos.
And still no sign of any fallen models, which is disheartening to say the least. Because I think I would actually like to see a couple of fallen models. I think that would.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things. It's a time just now for, if you want to convert proper Primaris scale fallen models, the Inner Circle Companions kit has all the Dark Angels nonsense you could ever want. It's got everything I want. I bought more bodies to make more sergeants essentially for my Dark Angels out of them, because they've got the winged sword chest plates, they've got full robes, fantastic hooded heads, both masked and bare faces as well. It's the rich getting richer for me. I've had a fantastic year and bit in the hobby collecting Dark Angels. I can't complain at all. I've got more bodies to make more Dark Angels that are sitting. Maybe I'll do them in between projects as little palette cleansers when all that pink gets too much for me. But I have plans with him. Look, Fulgrim, my God, Fulgrim's going to take a while when it comes, because I love the paint scheme they've done with him on the box art. I have no idea how I'll replicate it in any way, shape, or form. So that's going to be a journey and a half.
And will you dive straight into film, or will you sit back and like jot notes down, and like how would you? What's your process about doing a big model like that?
Yeah, I do. I do take notes for the big models like that. I collect, on Instagram guides and information and try and work out what other people have done. Places that you can get, I like heavy metal style, clean edge highlighting, which is why I'm so slow at painting, even though dry brushing and all these other things would be far faster to get through. I just like the effect the clean edging has on it. Calm down, gents. um, so yeah, I'll probably wait until the first sort of few people whoever the special influences are that get Fulgrim early, or the real proper Golden Demon painters, and see what they do and see what guides come out and advice comes out, because that's the great thing, like you said, about the community at the moment. Even the top level painters, there's no secrets. They post things, they share things. Some things they go, this is behind my Patreon and behind a paywall and all the rest of it. But most things, they'll share and reveal. And so I'll watch all the core people that are likely to paint them and see and make my own notes, and then buy some paint. I have a ton of purple, so I think I should be okay for Fulgrim, but might need a few more shades, and we'll see what happens.
I definitely think Mediocre Hobbies will get him first, because I know that once he left Games Workshop, one of his pals was in Nottingham, obviously, and put him as like the highest level of getting stuff that you can get. So I reckon that he'll probably be one of the first.
Mediocre's great. He's got some great tutorials and some fantastic models, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with them. I'm looking forward to see what everyone does, because I think the box art one is superb. But I'm looking forward to see all these. This is the thing about Fulgrim and the very nature of the Emperor's Children. You can paint it like anything. It could be all gold. It could be all silver. It could be all, it could be all purple. You could do them purple and gold. It doesn't, the very nature of it is you could throw any color on them and it works for the nature of what Fulgrim is now.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what people, and even people's spins on different colour schemes as well, not just the pink. I'm looking forward to seeing, because I've seen people do red orcs, and then somebody put out saying that orcs were always red at some point, and then somebody changed them to green and now they're green. I enjoy seeing different colour schemes for models that you wouldn't expect.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's, who is it that does it? I can't remember. I follow him on here, and he intentionally does very different looking color schemes for classic models to just see how they look. And it can come out, just it's that sort of disconcerting nature of it. It just looks so nice. I can't remember his name. That's awful. I'll find it later and recommend him.
Yeah, definitely, man. You'll probably wake up in the middle of the night shouting his name. And Mrs. PaintpartyScot, like, why are you calling out that random name in your sleep? It's
Simon. Simon.
We're just getting ready for a pose off in October.
Like, Mrs. leans over and she's like, "What are you doing in your sleep, Jim?"
Oh, poor Mrs. Scott.
Poor Mrs. Scott. One of life's tragedies.
Do you prefer painting miniature models or miniature vehicles?
Probably miniature models. That's why I like bare heads and stuff and all my Space Marines and stuff. It's drama. I like. I don't mind painting vehicles. I take ages to do them, which is why I've got a tank and a speeder sitting here unfinished. Because I like to edge highlight everything, and as you know, if you're edge highlighting a tank, that takes ages. So, there's ways I should probably do it and speed it up and get a move on. But I just love characters and the drama of them. That's why I do all these bare heads and screaming faces and shouting faces and stuff like that, because it's just such fun. It's the only problem, I suppose, with my Night Lords plan is because the half the drama of the Night Lords that makes them different is all their big bat-winged helmets, so there's not many bare faces there. But that's fine. We'll make it work. and Emperor's Children slightly less in bare faces, but they are the bare faces that are there are so freakish and weird. I'm looking forward to doing those. And their helmet design is so different. You know, the warped helmets that they've done for the new range is just brilliant. All these speaker grills and changed angles and stuff, and more narrow overall look. It's just it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely been. It's definitely a step up from what we're normally used to, with like chaos factions. It's even with the World Eaters, the helmets can be a bit semi compared to like Deathgar, so it's always good to kind of see different helmets. Yeah, lots of purple helmets. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's always good to see something different for a faction to make them unique. Because
Yes.
like with the normal Space Marines, like good Space Marines, all the helmets are generic, I feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Apart from obviously the Dark Angels, because they've got hoods, but
Yeah, Dark Angels hoods and some of the more knightly helms and stuff. That's what I like the Inner Circle companions for, because they've got sort of different faceplate style grills and classic helmet, you know, Mark 7, Mark 8 helmets and things mixed in there to make them look more relic-y and old style. And then what's coming next with the Space Wolf revamp from Adepticon that we got previewed, there's some really good looking runic style helmets that they're doing for Space Wolves with, you know, flattened face grills and things like that look great, you know, just to bring that character that people were missing from the sort of genericness of Primaris, which is superb.
yeah, yeah. But it's been. I mean, Adepticon was pretty good. Like, I just want some new Grey Knights. I love the lore of Grey Knights because they're just robots, really, who don't really know anything. I just wanted an upgrade in Grey Knights, to be honest with you. I really want.
Everyone does, man. Everyone does. It's they've been, you know, they're a great unit. They're great in plastic. They're a great army. Okay, you know, people can argue, oh, they're just Space Marine Plus, and they're clearly very hard to balance because, you know, if they're really good against Psychers and Demons, then who would ever play Psychers and Demons against them in case you come up against the you know, Grey Knights and get absolutely spanked? But yeah, they're just, if they're Space Marine models, they're looking tired right now. They're looking tired compared to the whole Primaris range. They're a very popular faction. They'll get their upgrade, I've no doubt. But I'm not surprised that the upgrades have gone Space Marines, then Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves. You know, the three sort of special factions, other than Black Templars. Obviously, Black Templars got in there first, you know, as the special Space Marines. But yeah, no, Simon's right in terms of that. Grey Knights got done dirty. It was just a bit of a shame to see the sort of box re-release and the slight update of the Dread Knight, which is so stiff looking as a model compared to, you know, and that was the problem I thought with Thousand Sons robots that were released. They're so stiff looking. There's nothing particularly magical automata about them. You know, that they're not a very dynamically posed model, so it's very hard to get excited about. Those need converting bad, I think, if I'm ever going to go to Thousand Sons one day, which I might because I've got some in the pile of shame as well.
I mean, I feel as though we should also. Another unit I think really needs remodeled as well would be the Hellbrute as well.
Yes,
We need that because we fought one of them in Space Marine 2. You fight against one of them, two of them.
Yep,
like it's definitely a model that needs to be reloved and retouched.
Agreed. It's because the Redemptor chassis is such a great kit. It really is in terms of updating what dreadnoughts are for Space Marines. They're feeding us all in dribs and drabs, man. It's fine. This will all come around eventually, and we'll all buy it eventually. It's, you know, I feel, you know, I thought it was brilliant for Dark Angels. We ate well for a whole year. We got everything we could have wanted. We got a line. We got more custom units. We got more things we can customize a whole army level, and then Blood Angels got some decent stuff. You know, they got Dante, they got their Sanguinary Guard, which a lot of people had issue with without those giant wings, which kind of agree because the wings made them sort of special. But the new Primaris style models and the designs are a big step up across the board. The new Death Company, the new, you know, all of these sorts of things were really, really good steps in the right direction for all of those kits. And now Space Wolves are going to get the same. And I'm sitting here going, you know, I chose the wrong time to start listening to Space Wolves by William King, because then that was released the next week, and or previewed the next week, and I'm like, It's really cool. Oh, I can't buy anymore. We're done. Year of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, like, see, like, I'm going through a bit of a hobby block. I kind of go on and off with hobby and this now. What do you do to get through your hobby block if you have one?
I start a new project, man. If I'm sitting there not happy with something, is that healthy? But I go on maybe a build run as opposed to painting for a while. Just build models, and I like building models because at that point they have the full potential that I'm not going to screw up the paint job.
Yeah.
I think this is as good as this model's ever going to look before I start laying paint on it and ruining the process, and then have to strip them and start again. So maybe have a run of building, or I'll go run a few nights, playing video games, because when I paint or hobby is that sort of 2 hours before bed, later at night sort of thing. So that's my schedule, as it were.
Listen, mate, I think we're going to need to call it time there because
Oops.
I need to put El Papo out for the toilet. She's pacing the floor here, and we're in the middle of potty training. Obviously, we'll try and get you back on in 8 months because that's when the publicity and the swooning was stopped, and we can catch up you with Simon and his muscle off as well, because that is something I definitely don't want to see, but I also morbidly do want to see it at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Before you go, man, is there anybody want to shout out to or anything?
Oh yeah, shout out to all my regulars who come on the late night paint party, just like yourself. And I'm streaming several nights a week. I'm trying to get back into it now, usually after 10 or 11 o'clock at night. The door is always open to anyone who wants to join, who feels like they want to get on. All my regulars that turn up, Graham up painting, who was on tonight. Workgate Studios, Sam, who knows everybody.
When is that guy not in fucking online? He's always online.
He's always
He's
online.
not asleep.
Door is always open to anyone to come join me anytime, and chat nonsense about the hobby, yourself included, man, in these dark nights. And I look forward to doing more streaming and chatting with people soon. And also, my lore challenge is on every Saturday or Sunday. I'm happy to have good answers. I'm happy to have nonsense answers. I just love people showing up. It's always appreciated.
Do you find more people are now starting to give nonsense answers than actual answers?
It depends on the quality of the question. If I make it, this is the balancing thing. Yourself writing a quiz. If you make it too hard, it just all turns into nonsense answers as people give up. If you make it too easy, there's less funny stuff mixed in. So it's a fine balancing act for the lore challenge. Like last weekend's was just pure nonsense. I was like, tell me what song you would have your noise marines enter the battlefield to. What are they blasting from their sonic cannons?
I've never even seen that.
So, what are your noise marines coming onto the battlefield on, man? You've painted some beautiful noise marines. You get your phone out, you stick on your tunes. What are they blasting in turn one?
There is only one song that they can come out to. Barbie Girl by Aqua. That's it. That's the only song that they can come out to.
Hey, Barbie.
Yeah. Let's go, Barbie. Let's go, Barbie. Yeah. Like, that is the only song that they can come out to. Because they're made of plastic. You can touch. You can undress them anywhere as well. Do you know what I mean?
And they're pink. What more do you want? They're pink with long flowing hair. Sensible. I love the logic. I love the logic behind this.
It has to be. And that's probably as good as the diverse answers that you would have got as well.
It was.
I
got some fantastic mixes there. We had everything from there. S Club 7 was mentioned there from Chewy there. Take On Me from Aha, we had that option as well. Not as much Kiss as I thought there should be. Kisses have some pretty on the nose titles, so I thought the glamour rock vibe of Emperor's Children, people would go for that. There's a lot of hard rock mixed in there, and some rude stuff mixed in there as well. There was some rude stuff. And what was funny is, because I always post the song with it when people share the answer, there was some stuff that's just not in Instagram's catalogue for obvious reasons.
I mean, you could have also had Gary Glitter's "Do You Want to Touch?" Yeah, do you know what I mean?
That was there. You Want to Be in My Gang was an answer. That was there. That was there, and I had to share it. I did not share a Gary picture, but I did share a sort of shocked expression on my face.
Do you want to touch? Yeah, honestly, yeah. Yeah, man, it's been great having you on as always, man. Thanks for coming on again. We're back next week, folks, with, it's Casey's mystical, magical guest. I think it's Ian McMinnies. I think that's who he has.
Yes.
I think that's who he has coming on to. I think that's who he told me it was yesterday.
Amazing.
I kind of
Amazing.
lied at the start, but will it be in time? Will it happen? Tune in to see, folks, because we don't know otherwise. Right.
That's
Right. Thanks
exciting.
very much for coming on, pal, and I'll see you again soon. Love you
Absolute
lots, mate.
pleasure, man. Look after yourself, buddy. Bye-bye.
Cheers.